There is a photograph that has been circulating in football circles for years, but which took on a completely different kind of weight sometime around 2023 or 2024 when people started realizing what it actually showed. It was taken in 2007 for a Barcelona charity calendar. In it, a 20-year-old Lionel Messi is cradling a 6-month-old baby in a bathtub, smiling. Completely ordinary. A young player doing a charity photo shoot, holding a baby who clearly has no idea where he is or what is happening. The baby is Lamine Yamal. 16 years before, Lamine would break Messi's record as the youngest goal scorer in the history of the European Championship. 16 years before he would wear the number 10 jersey at Barcelona that Messi once owned. 16 years before he would become the most talked about young footballer in the world. In the photograph, he is 6 months old and Messi is holding him like he's just another baby. Which he was. A baby from Rocafonda, a working-class neighborhood in Mataró, a few miles north of Barcelona, described by El País as forgotten, isolated and stigmatized. A neighborhood where people struggled, where immigrants built lives piece by piece, where football was something you played in the street because it was free. Today that baby is 18 years old, his birthday is in 3 days, July 13th, and in a few hours he will walk out at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles for Spain's World Cup quarterfinal against Belgium. This is the story of Lamine Yamal. Not a corporate strategy, a life. Welcome back to the Celebs Mindset. Let's start where everything starts, with the family. His father, Munir Nasraoui, was born in Larache, a port city on the Atlantic coast of northern Morocco. He came to Spain when he was 9 years old with his mother, Lamine's grandmother, Fatima, and built a life in Catalonia the way hundreds of thousands of immigrants from North Africa have done. Slowly, with enormous effort, through work that nobody celebrates. Munir spent years as a building painter. He was a footballer himself in his youth, good enough to dream about it, not quite given the circumstances to make it happen professionally. His mother, Sheila Abana, came from Bata, the largest city in Equatorial Guinea. She emigrated to Spain as a teenager and eventually settled in Catalonia, where she worked in hospitality and raised her children. The two of them were struggling financially before Lamine was born, having difficulty paying rent. During that period, two men helped them, gave them money, gave them support at a moment when they needed it. His parents named their son after those two men, Lamine Yamal, a compound given name stitched together from two acts of kindness from strangers. His full name, Lamine Yamal Nasraoui Ebana, carries 3 continents in it: Morocco, Equatorial Guinea, Spain, and a debt of gratitude to 2 people most of the world will never know. His parents separated when he was around 5. He moved with his mother to Rocafonda, the neighborhood in Mataró that would become one of the defining parts of his identity. If you've seen him score and then point to the sky and hold up 3 fingers, followed by a 0 and a 4, that's 304. The final digits of Rocafonda's postal code. Not a brand, not a campaign, a neighborhood, the place where he grew up with a mother who worked shifts in a restaurant and a grandmother who came across from Morocco on a bus she wasn't supposed to be on. He carries all of it with him everywhere. On his football boots, custom made always, he stitches the flags of Morocco and Equatorial Guinea alongside Spain. 3 countries, 1 player. Completely unbothered by the complexity of it, he has described Morocco as also my country. When he signed his contract extension with Barcelona, the one that came with the number 10 jersey, the one that had belonged to Romario, Ronaldinho and Messi, he postponed the formal signing ceremony because his grandmother couldn't make it from Morocco. He waited. He said publicly, "Without her, I wouldn't have been able to do something as special as this." He was 17 years old when he said that. Now let's talk about the football, because the football is also extraordinary and it's happening right now. Lamine Yamal came into this World Cup carrying a hamstring injury that kept him out for nearly 2 months at the end of the La Liga season. Before that injury, he had been the best player in Spain's title-winning campaign. 16 goals, 12 assists for Barcelona, numbers that most experienced winners in their prime never reach in a single season. He arrived in North America underprepared, undercooked, still finding his rhythm. It showed early. He came on as a substitute in Spain's opening draw against Cape Verde. Started every game since, but by the numbers, 1 goal, no assists. He has not been the Lamine Yamal who toured through Euro 2024 and made the rest of the continent look slow. He has said so himself. I've been out of action for nearly 2 months, and it's not the same as when you played 7 matches in a row. The remarkable thing is that Spain is in the quarterfinals anyway, not because of Yamal, but around him. They are the only team remaining in the tournament top gear. His coach, Luis de la Fuente, has talked about the maturity the 18-year-old has shown in managing his own fitness, staying patient, and trusting the process of getting back to himself. That kind of patience, 18, the World Cup, with the entire country watching, is nothing. It is actually quite remarkable. There is also something happening off the pitch around this tournament that is worth naming directly, because it is part of his story whether he wants it to be or not. When Yamal scored his first goal against Saudi Arabia, it celebrated by performing sujoud, prostrating in gratitude to God, an Islamic gesture of prayer, the reaction smooth. Most people recognized it for what it was, a young Muslim man thanking his God for a beautiful moment. But Spanish media and fact-checkers documented waves of Islamophobic and racist abuse on social media that did not follow the celebration. Attacks on his faith, his African heritage, his parents' origins. He has said nothing defensive about it. He has never been anything other than exactly who he is. A Catalan Muslim of Moroccan and Equatorial Guinean descent who plays for Spain and wears the flags of 3 countries on his boots. And he clearly has no intention of changing that to make anyone more comfortable. That is not a brand position, that is a person. A genuinely young person with a complicated and beautiful family history who is carrying something much larger than football every time he steps onto a pitch. And now, today, he is stepping onto the pitch at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles in a World Cup quarterfinal against a Belgium side making their last stand with De Bruyne, Lukaku and Courtois, 3 of the best players of their generation playing their last serious act on this stage. Belgium has been dangerous. They beat the United States 4-1 in the round of 16. Lukaku has scored 3 times as a substitute already. Spain are the favorites. The clean sheet record, the unbeaten run, the team's collective discipline, all of it points toward La Roja advancing. But the version of Lamine Yamal that wins tournaments, that tears through a defense and makes 50,000 people hold their breath, has not shown up yet at this World Cup. Maybe tonight is the night that changes. 3 days from now, on July 13th, he turns 19. If Spain reaches the final on July 19th in New Jersey, he will play it as a 19-year-old, having turned 19 6 days before. He will be the youngest player in a World Cup final since Pelé in 1958, if it happens. And if it does, somewhere in Rocafonda, a neighborhood that was once described as forgotten and stigmatized, people will be watching. The neighborhood that shaped him. The postal code on his fingertips every time he scores. 304. Was Lamine Yamal's 2026 World Cup the comeback from injury, the patience through an underwhelming group stage, the identity he carries so openly and so proudly,